There's a version of you that says the bold thing, that brings the real idea into the room, not the safe version of it, that leads with full volume. And this version is not ahead of you. It's the version that you keep editing out before anyone else sees. Hi, I'm Tammy Imlay, and I'm an executive leadership strategist and advisor, and this is a Leader's Purpose podcast. And before we get into today's episode, if you're done watching yourself play it safe, and if you're ready to see exactly what is running that pattern, the Aligned Leadership Audit is where the conversation starts. Just 45 minutes, just you and I will tell you what I see and leave you knowing exactly what has been driving that edit. So the link is in the show notes, but it's tammyraycoaching.com/call. Okay, so today is the final episode in this series. So we've had 6 episodes. I think this is number 6 actually. And we've covered the weight that does not show up on paper, the routing pattern, the permissions that you did not know you were giving, and the thing that you bring into the room that no tool can replicate. Well, today we're going to go to the root, not what you're carrying, what you are editing. And why the version of you that already knows keeps getting made smaller before you even open your mouth. And so I want to tell you a story. So I was sitting across from this VP over tea. I've known her for years. She's someone who I've watched her build reputation on bold moves, bold ideas. The kind of bold ideas that her leaders used, the kind that got her noticed, the kind that moved things and got her into the seat that she's in today. Well, she had just gotten to the seat she spent years working towards, and she was frustrated. Not with her team, not with her board, but with herself. And so over tea, she was going on and she was talking about how she could see herself doing it, editing, playing it safe, taking the bold call and making it smaller before it even left her mouth. She knew exactly what needed to happen, and then she kept delivering a careful version of it instead. And then she said, well, Tammy, it's just what the job entails. And I looked at her and I said these 2 words. Says who? Because here's what I know. She was not playing it safe because the job required it. She was playing it safe because when the bold idea is yours, like really yours, your idea, your responsibility, it doesn't land. That's a different kind of exposure that she had never had before at the seat she's in. The bold idea was safe when it belonged to someone else to act on. Now that it's hers, and it changed everything for her. And so let me ask you something. When was the last time you had a real idea? A big one, grand, bold, different. One that you know deep in your knower that it had a real chance of working. And you edited it before it even reached the table. Not because someone shot it down. Nobody even saw it. But you ran the movie in your head first. Thought about how radical it sounded, and started hearing the questions. What will they think? What pushback is coming? Is this too much for this room right now? That bold version never made it out of your head. And what happens after this edit? What happens is that you go into protective mode. You work within these boundaries that you quietly decided are safe. You put on parameters that nobody handed you, that you gave yourself. And you bring the smaller version to the table, one that you can defend, one that you will not raise too many questions, and one are the only one in the room who knows what you left out. And when you do the same things, you get the same results. The ideas that could have moved this organization are still in your head. They're just not making it to the table. You know your job and you know it's possible, and yet the work starts to feel like maintenance instead of momentum because the things that light you up are no longer in action. They're not in motion. And you're leading, just not at the level that you came here to lead at. And so I've been doing this work for over 20 years, and I've watched the pattern play out in leaders across every industry, every level, and every kind of organization. And I've even seen this pattern in myself too. So as you know, I recently got back from a slightly over 2-week trip to Greece. And I had realized in the downtime there, which I had very little Wi-Fi and shoddy cell service. So I had a lot of time to just sit and think and reflect. And I'd realized that I had fallen into the same trap. I was muffling. I was removing some conviction because of how it would land. Not dumbing things down, I wouldn't even say watering it down, but editing, taking it and making it safer, more palpable, right? A more palpable version of it. And it's not what I want. It's not who I am. And I know that it's not what you want or who you are either. I know like every time I think of that, I think of friends. I know they know, whatever. But you know what needs to be done to get the results that you want. And like I said, is when you do the same things, you get the same results. But this doesn't look the same in every leader, but the cost is always recognizable. So here's some examples of when I've seen it happen. I was working with a senior VP, sharp, strategic, the kind of leader who could read a room in like 30 seconds. And over time, the competitive edge went quiet. He stopped bringing the bold read into the room and started bringing the consensus version. His peers started seeing him as steady, which you're like, Tammy, steady is not bad. Okay, but at times it's not good either. And he used to be seen as a visionary. He used to have those bold ideas and he would move teams forward. And the thing is that he felt the difference even when no one else could name it. And I watched a director, one of the most creative thinkers that I've ever worked with, gradually become predictable. She knew it before her leaders did. The fire that made her remarkable in her early career, it hadn't disappeared. It had just stopped making its way into the work. She was delivering, but not at the level she was capable of. And again, she felt it, even though no one else could see it. Because again, when we think predictable, steady, these are words that we think are necessary. And I have sat across from leaders who stopped enjoying what they do, not because the work changed, but because they changed how they showed up to it. They were working harder than ever to produce results that felt smaller than they should. And I've watched both men and women get passed over for the next seat because not because they lacked the skill, but because the version of them showing up in the room was the careful version. And what they knew to be true, they didn't speak up. Weren't able to say it in the room. And the room could feel it, even when no one could name it. You know when someone's holding back. And that's what this is. It's a holding back. This edit, it's not protecting you. You think that it is. You think that this is making it, that this is the leader, this is that you need to be, or this is what the job entails, like my friend I was having tea with. But it's really not protecting you. It's costing you the very thing that got you here. And here's what I want you to see. The leader who brings the real idea into the room, who says the thing she has been quietly making smaller for 3 years, who walks in knowing what she knows and leads from that standpoint, not from the one that she decided the room could handle. That is not a bolder version of you. That is you without the edit layer. And what changes? What changes when you stop editing and start leading at full volume? Well, I'm so glad you asked, because this is where things shift. And this is why I wanted to put so much more in here about why in this current climate and this information age, how information is not the key to success anymore, how information is not the power, it's the implementation, it's the creativeness. But what changes when you stop editing and start leading at full volume? The ideas that have been sitting in your head start to make it to the table. Your team stops following a careful version of you and starts following you. And the work starts to feel like it fits again because you're finally leading at the level that you came here to lead. The competitive edge that went quiet, it comes back online, and that fire deep inside of you is back and unstoppable. That seat that you're in that was built for the leader who thinks the way you think, not the edited version of you. And so as we are closing this series, I want you to think back. Because six episodes ago, we started the series by saying you already have what it takes. This is where you get to remember that. And this episode is proof. The instincts that you have been editing are still there. Those ideas. And sometimes we get so good at muffling them that it takes time to bring them back up. But I guarantee they're still there. They have always been there, that those bold ideas didn't go away. What has been running the edit is something that's precise and nameable. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And that's exactly what the Aligned Leadership Audit is for. So 45 minutes, just you and I tell you what I see. We're gonna talk about what's been driving the gap between what you know and what you say out loud. That's a better way of saying it. The link is in the show notes, but it's tammymurraycoaching.com/call, and I will see you on the other side of that conversation. Don't wait. This is one of those moments that if you're feeling like there needs to be a change, if you're thinking about this, you're like, yeah, I am editing some of what I'm saying. In this day and age, that is not going to get you to the next level. That's not going to help your company reach its goals or initiatives. That's not going to help you grow and stay relevant. The creativity is. Those bold ideas, those big moves are what's going to change things for you and your company or your team or your business, whoever the stakeholders are. So I will see you on that conversation, tammymurraycoaching.com/call, and I will see you next week. And friend, stop editing and start owning. All right, bye for now.